My Little Pony. I used to wonder what friendship could be. What's up, guys? Today is My Little Pony Monday. We've done it for 43 weeks now. And what's today? April 21st. So it's time to get a little bit of that Fluttershy on. So let's do it. Now today's video is all about equestrian politics. I'm joking. Now first we gotta talk about this week's episode, Season 2, Episode 18, or the 44th episode of Friend Indeed. These are some pictures. Episode where Pinkie Pie meets her ultimate challenge, and that's befriending Cranky Doodle Donkey, who wants absolutely fucking nothing to do with her. It's a classic case of unstoppable force meeting an inanimate object, with Pinkie's relentless enthusiasm clashing against Cranky's grumpy determination to stay friendless. Pinkie Pie's most famous singing happened in this episode, with the Smile Song, pure joy distilled into music. It's so catchy that even the most cynical grump might find themselves humming along. Come on, every pony, smile, 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 fill my heart up with sunshine, sunshine. All I really need's a smile, smile, smile from these happy friends of mine. And so it on. It cemented her as the perfect party pony in pink. It even outshines Party of One from Season 1. Cranky Doodle Donkey is a play on words of an American song, a clear nod to Yankee Doodle Dandy, a 1942 song written to support patriotism at the height of World War II, when the U.S. was starting to get on the attack. And this was supposed to be a reference to those words. But in 3, the Yankee Doodle Dandy. The Second World War is crazy. So that's some nice pony history. What are more references to American history or world history? Hearthwarming Eve is inspired by both Thanksgiving and Christmas from America's early colonial history. It mirrors the unity of different groups, the Earth Ponies, the Pegasi, and the Unicorns, much like how early settlers and Native Americans cooperated, at least in the idealized version. The train system in Equestria bears a striking resemblance to America's railroad expansion in the 19th century, commonly known as the American Express. Pinkie Pie's rock farm could be a reference to real-life homesteaders who struggled with barren lands in the American Midwest. The Apple family reunions are gatherings that reflect deep-rooted traditions with the natural conservative America in Southern and Midwestern American culture. Especially in the South, family reunions are like a massive project. The Pony Civil War. I could have accredited it as a nod to the American Civil War, but there are 3 tribes, and I don't think that could count. Now, the royal sisters, Celestia and Luna, are the contrast between light and dark rulers like Elizabeth I and Mary, the Queen of Scots. The Griffinstone collapse could resemble many different famous collapses of many empires, like the downfall of Rome or the dissolution of Prussia. The Storm King's conquest would be real-world expansionism like the British Empire, and have conquerors like Napoleon, or even the Mongols like Genghis Khan. Sombra's rule reminds us of the horrors of slavery. Slavery. The G5 Zephyr Heights would be like the monarchy versus commoners divide, bearing similarities to the Ancien regime of France before the revolution. And there are tons more. Now, it's Easter Monday. That means Fluttershy, but we've already done that. Let's take flight with Twilight in today's history lesson, way back to the era of the Pillars of Old Equestria. Starswirl the Bearded, Rockhoof, Mistmane, Magnus, Meadowbrook, and Somnambula weren't just powerful individuals, they represented the virtues that later became the foundation for the elements of harmony. Starswirl, ever the intellectual, hypothesized that their unique strengths could be harnessed to protect Equestria from rising threats. Basically, the US Department of Homeland Security. So what did they do? They created the Sea of Harmony, which later grew into the Tree of Harmony, which bared the fruits known as the Elements of Harmony. Of course, things went to shit when the Pillars attempted to defeat the Pony of Shadows, the shadowy Pony of Shadows, only to end up banished along with him into limbo, disappearing for centuries. Now, before they went into limbo and sacrificed their own lives, probably, before season 7, the first interpretation. They were the prototypes of the main 6. The Pillars of Old Equestria also had 6 ponies. Their virtues were strength, hope, beauty, bravery, healing, and sorcery. They were the early echoes of what would later become the elements of harmony we know today, which are loyalty, honesty, laughter, kindness, generosity, and magic. It's fascinating to think that Starswirl and his companions unintentionally set the groundwork for a cycle of heroes, constantly known as the Main 6. The Tree of Harmony had grown, and it sprouted 6 items, which would later go on to be the elements. Now, I don't know what they looked like in history, but they were probably like 6 gemstones, based on what I've seen in Season 1, colored red, orange, purple, pink, blue, and magenta, which has always been a star. A 6-pointed star. The 6-pointed star is associated famously with Judaism as the Star of David. Now, the magenta-colored gemstone represented a 6-pointed star. It's possible the design was unintentionally referencing that shape, but it looked more like a star and less like a religious symbol, so we'll keep it at that. It has always been Twilight Sparkle's cutie mark, so this was pretty much her destiny, symbolizing magic, knowledge, and friendship, and leadership. It likely ties into her role as the element of magic rather than direct religious connection. Main 6 and their pride flag colors, more on that later. Let's get on with the lesson of equestrian history. After the Pillars vanished into limbo, Celestia and Luna were born, and they emerged as Equestria's protectors. But as they ruled, they encountered their greatest foe yet. Drumroll, please. Discord! The spirit of chaos and disharmony. His reign was fucking madness, twisting reality with his unpredictable magic. The sisters turned to the newly formed elements of harmony, wielding them for the first recorded time in equestrian history. Their power petrified Discord, sealing him away in stone for centuries. This marked the first time the elements were seen in full use, 100%, proving their immense potential. Now, the depressing banishment, which she still hated because she loved her younger sibling, Princess Celestia, had to banish Princess Luna to the moon. It brought upon 1,000 years of light, harmonic fun, which Equest historians refer to as the Celestial Era. Equestria thrived, but the absence of Luna's influence meant the balance of day and night, sun and moon, even harmony itself, was all missing a part. Equestrians debate whether this era was actually golden or not. Or was it a time of just hidden suffering because there was a part of harmony that was really missing? But that was crazier. Every night must have been a pain for this Princess Celestia, raising the sun for the summer sun celebration and raising the moon. Like, it brought back so many unfond memories that you don't want to hear. And these are powerful entities. We're talking Darkstalker level old. How does 3,000 years sound? The Celestial Era was still happening when the real show began. When Friendship is Magic begins, we're still in the Celestial Era at the 999th year. So technically the year is 999 if we're talking CE, Celestial Era, which CE also means Anno Domini designations. So you could joke around in G5 saying it was like 2025.
Oh my god.
The era ended after Friendship is Magic Part 1, when the 1000th year, or the 1000th summer, took place. The Summer Sun celebration, oh my gosh, Summer Sun celebration. I assume years look like this representation, and I think clocks kind of look like this. Now, for 1,000 years she stood before her subjects, smiling and raising the sun with grandeur, all while carrying the weight of knowing on that very day she had to fuck over her own sister and banish her to the moon. When she came back, she broke the elemental gemstones, but Nightmare Moon was still defeated. Why? The elements are powered by friendship, and it essentially makes them indestructible. Because friendship magic lives in people. The magic of the elements lives inside ponies' hearts and minds, and that makes it impossible to destroy unless the pony's harmony is destroyed. The elements can never be destroyed because it lives on as like a friendly entity in many ponies, in many other different species, even dragons. Did you know the Generosity Gemstone was green? When Rarity got it, it was purple. The Honesty element used to be yellow until Applejack had inherited it, and then it was orange. There even used to be a depiction of a white gemstone, which likely signified purity and balance. The elements still lived in the main six, even if they gave up their necklaces in the Season 4 premiere. In Twilight's Kingdom, you'd be tricked into thinking bad ending because she gave up alicorn magic. All of it. in Equestria. And I know your exact words. Why would Twilight do that? She just ended the world like she's a dumbass. Maybe it was not her being an idiot, it was her being a genius. Why? Twilight's Kingdom is the ultimate high-stakes showdown. At first glance, Twilight's decision to surrender all Alicorn magic to Tyrek seems reckless, like she's handing Equestria's entire life directly in the clawed paws of the enemy. This was a masterpiece of strategy. Twilight's choice was genius for several reasons. She freed her friends, which also had the elements inside them. She played the long hard game where Tyrek thought he'd won, essentially tricking them. The magic was never truly lost. Harmony itself can never die, even if all of its magic is in enemy hands, or talons, or claws, or whatever the fuck you say. Okay, Tyrek didn't know there are many different representations of the elements, and they all live in the ponies. She rescued her friends, who still have the elements inside. It became the key of magic. They unlocked the chest, and these rainbowified supercharged ponies came. The plan was to essentially fool Tyrek by making him believe Twilight had surrendered. It's almost a reference to Hannibal's work in the 216 BC Second Punic War, Battle of Cannae. Hannibal lured the Romans into a false sense of victory, letting them push forward aggressively while his forces slowly enveloped them from all sides. The result was one of the most devastating defeats in Roman history, all because Hannibal outmaneuvered an enemy that was heavy duty in numbers. Twilight did something similar. She would use her enemy's own arrogance against him, making him believe he had absorbed all of Equestria's magic and won. Equestria was now its slave. But in reality, she was positioning herself for an even greater counterattack, unleashing harmony in a way Tyrek could never predict. It could be like the fake-out Napoleon did against the Russians. They feigned surrender and faked a fleet in perfect weather conditions for stealth. This happened in the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805. It was also like the Third Coalition, from 1803 to 1806. And that's the key concept. It's a beneficial parasite. The elements get inside a pony's body and they multiply inside, and the friendship and bonds would spread it to other ponies, and then the cycle continues until everyone has a little bit of friendship in their hearts. Even your worst enemy might have friendship in their hearts. They found new hosts, and those 6 ponies became their hubs. The main hub of it all was Twilight Sparkle. She wasn't just a bearer of magic. And it's no coincidence, too. All of Twilight's stars combined are 7 stars, with all 6 of their points. 7 is a perceived lucky number. 6 times 7 is 42. And to see the non-coincidence, we go back to Fall Weather Friends, where her competition number, is 42. And also, the main 6 mostly has 3 syllables, Twilight Sparkle, has 4. And 42 is a number famous for being in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, being the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Now, you wouldn't do this to the main character unless they were about to do something real. 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 Now, so you could say that their cutie marks are the answer to life, as every pony has a different answer, since there's no universal answer. Now, onto the main six looking like pride flags. I don't know. Did Faust make this intentional? Nobody knows, but she has explicitly said that she would support the MLP. Wait, no. The LGBT community and has expressed support openly for their rights. Through whether she intended the main six colors as a direct symbol remains unclear. It's a weird coincidence. For example, Twilight's pink and purple on her mane plus the blue makes her look like the bi flag. Applejack is close to the lesbian flag. Pinkie Pie has a resemblance to the pansexual flag. And slightly off colors like Rarity would probably symbolize the ace, and Fluttershy the trans. And Rainbow Dash's colorway could represent the entire community. That's 6 colors for LGBTQIA+. Spike's closest thing is actually the real gay flag. I do not mean to offend anyone with this part. I am just pointing out something I notice. Now, from the magic of friendship to the colors of pride, we've uncovered layers of meaning and stretch beyond Equestria itself. The elements live on in ponies and us, shaping worlds, our stories, and connections that last a lifetime. And just like Twilight Stars, we all carry our own answers to life, vibrant and ever evolving. So whether through battle strategy, symbolism, or storytelling, the truth remains. Harmony is indestructible. Thank you for watching the YouTube. We'll see you next week.